Hey everyone, COD VP here. Welcome back to Autumn's Journey. So, you guys finally ready to see hopefully the ending of this episode? If it's not too long, I'm going to get it all done today. If it takes too long, then I might just continue it to the next another episode, but that might take me another 2 weeks to do. So we're just going to try to do it today, okay guys? Alright, so I'm going to get rid of that because that's getting in my way. And let's continue with our, hopefully, last chapter of Autumn's Journey. So we get to see what happens with us and these beautiful, lovely dragons of ours. Because they're so cute and lovely. Okay. Oh, yeah. So to recap a little bit of the last episode for those of you guys who actually watch it when I had them come out. We were going to do a mission with the traders again, but they had dragon remains, and that ain't good, and the dragons are expressing their concerns about that right now. So, okay, here we go. Oh, our truth. Okay. Now we could see why Mari was so hesitant bringing the box contents up earlier. Too many questions and not enough answers. Everything regarding this was unsettling and ominous. Ominous? I think I said it right. I glanced down at my note, then saw the place and time to meet the carriage. Ah, it'll be leaving soon. You're still accepting the quest? How really? I don't want you getting involved with merchant ventures. Please, reconsider. Kerr placed his hand on Mari's shoulder. Let her do what she wants. I didn't say I would. I'm going to see if I can check the contents. Since Mari isn't 100% sure that he saw dragon remains, right? He nodded meekly. I want to think I didn't. Then let's stop speculating and get some clear answers. I'll go. What if the cargo isn't the same? The carriage is recruiting quite a few knights and senior KITs, so the content should be important. It's possible that they're the same. What would Heavenkind want with dragon remains anyway? Wait here. If you accompany me, it'll definitely attract attention. I'll be back shortly. Maybe that's why the merchant who hired us and Barry was so nervous. He was being guarded by Dragonkind. Mari appeared distraught by the idea of me going, while Kerr simply nodded to encourage me. Don't take too long. Right, leave it to me. Yeah, we're gonna not figure this out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Blech. I broke off from the group and quickly left for the location indicated on the note. It said to meet just outside the city by one of the fields. I soon spotted a 2-horse carriage with the Merchant Ventures sign etched on its side. There were only a few people outside of the carriage chatting, so I knew I had arrived early. Discreetly, I approached the other side of the vehicle and peered through the window. I love the sneaky music, guys. It's like do 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 do. Well, I almost had all the notes right. It's totally music to sneak by. God, okay, I love the choice of music. Just had to say that. Anyway. Oh, wait, I skipped a line. Ah! Well, whatever. I snuck up to the window and looked inside. I think that's what it said. Sure enough, there was a long, ornate box, similar to the one that we had escorted to Oliver. My fingers grazed the handle of the carriage door. I gave it a gentle tug, but it refused to budge. Foiled already? As I pondered on whether to find an alternative, someone roughly grabbed my shoulder. I whipped around, my hand rising to my hilt impulsively. An older man with short peppered hair and a sword at his hip glowered at me. What are you doing here? Older knight. I pulled out my crumpled note. I'm a knight in training who joined this assignment. After examining me, he glanced at my badge, glancing at my badge, he nodded curtly. Then you should properly ask, Slight One. Looking suspicious will get you instantly dismissed from the task. Yep, I was just curious, I'm sorry. Being a KIT and all. Then take your position. We'll be leaving at our client's orders. We dispersed, and I glanced back at the city walls, fighting the urge to return to my friends. If I left now, I would be removed from the mission anyway, and I still hadn't seen what the cargo held. I would have to carry out my duty, at least until I had another opportunity to check the box. Sorry, Kerr, Mari. This will take a little longer than I anticipated. As more knights, roughly 7 of them, and the merchant client, whom I overheard was called Dervishi, gathered around the carriage, the coachman hoisted himself onto the perch. I knew we would be setting off in a few minutes. I hope Kerr and Mari don't think I'm deserting them. I anxiously looked back, but as the horses started trotting, I forced myself to follow the group. In a desperate attempt, I tossed the note on the ground, even though I was pretty sure the chances of the boys finding it were slim. It's not like I had any other method of communicating with them. Are you gonna jump or not? Oh, go on. There you go. I had my puppy in my lap and he didn't want to sit there no more. I lingered behind while my eyes darted from one knight to the next. They were all in uniform, their breastplates shone brilliantly, and they each had a trusty weapon at their hip or strapped to their back. Usually, I would be elated just to be in their presence, but my mind was on other things. The city of Oliver vanished from sight as we entered the northern forest. Unlike the birch trees surrounding Barry, these trees were thicker, and the terrain even more rocky, although still a far cry from the mountainous? I don't even know, the mountains, I guess. I did my best to remain reserved, but Lady Bayard's name was brought up, and the knights asked me many questions about her and me. A few were interested in my sword skills since she had personally trained me. That's still really all they perceive when they see me. We did not make our first stop until mid-afternoon. As the knights ate, talked, or went scouting, I approached the carriage again. Although I did not have a chance to physically check the box, maybe Dervashi would let something slip about the contents. The carriage door was open. Dervashi sat inside comfortably, talking to the prominent knight with the peppered hair, who casually stood by the vehicle. Rather a terrible design flaw. One stroke to the chest and the sternum will shatter. Which is why, even though it's aesthetically pleasing, it is not ideally an actual... Eavesdropping isn't helping either. What are the chances I would catch important information anyway? Giving up, I sidled away from the carriage. Sidled? Yeah. About the contents. Wait. I gotta hear this. Surprised, I turned around, only to slam my knee into the wheel. Ow! As I rubbed my leg and stood up, the knight peered around the vehicle and spotted me. Did you need something? No. I was going to ask how much longer break would be. No more than 10 minutes. Relay that to the others. He gets a weird evil voice. Right, I'll do that. I gave an awkward salute and hobbled away, berating myself at that lost chance. I didn't even feel like passing on the message. Instead, I just wandered off while trying to clear my thoughts. Eavesdropping hadn't worked. The box was always under constant surveillance, and I doubted directly asking would help. It's harder than it looks. I heard the bushes rustle. I got hit. Before I could even touch my hilt, I was suddenly thrown back by a rough tackle. Back! I crashed into one of the shrubs and gasped for air as I painfully sat back up. And there's Kerr. Hey, what's up, beautiful? There's something on my mouse. Ow, what was that? Yeah, Kerr's looking at her. He brought up a finger to his lips and I instantly hushed up. I lowered my voice. How did you find me? Why did you have to push me? That hurt. Because you always let your sword do the talking. I gave him the wrong voice for a second there. And it was easy to find you. We just had to know the main road to Norvale. I guess throwing the note down didn't do anything. What note? Figures. Where's Mari? He's scouting and tailing the carriage while I left to find you. Do you know if the box contains dragon remains? I slammed my palms into the dirt, feeling rather defeated. No, I've been trying all day and still no luck. There needs to be some sort of distraction. I can't check when there's armed knights everywhere. Kerr made a fist and rotated his wrist. We can always plan an ambush. No violence. I don't think Mari would approve. Plus, we still need to confirm if the cargo is indeed dragon remains. And if it is... He scoffed and jabbed his chest with a thumb. We seize it. Even dragon remains contain some magic. They might fall into the wrong hands. Right. I gripped my badge worryingly. Then, the mission would be considered a failure. However, this is more important right now. Are you sure? I mustered a smile to reassure him. A minor setback. You can count on me, Kerr. Now, we need some sort of distraction without resorting to brute force. We exchanged blank stares, and I realized that neither of us could prepare a proper plan. We both sighed, at a loss. Mari could probably come up with something. Right, leave it to us. He'll devise a tactic. His ears pricked up, and he angled his chin in the direction of the carriage. They're gathering, everyone. You should head back. Of course. Thanks for looking for me, Kerr. Surprisingly, he leaned in and gave me a friendly headbutt. Oh, how cute. Be careful. I will. I stood up and brushed the dirt off my knees before assembling with the other knights. I felt bad deceiving the knights, but it was the only way to know if the Kofur held dragon remains. Please just be normal cargo. I slowly moved closer to the carriage, and eventually let it pass me as I pretended to guard the rear. I would need to position myself optimally. The air around me cooled, and I shivered as the temperature dropped rapidly. A mist emerged from the ground and soon enshrouded us. Many of the knights paused, and the carriage slowed down. Fog at this time? But it was clear just a second ago. Oh, hello there. A loud roar followed. A knight was swiftly rammed to the side and vanished into the mist, causing the others to panic. Was that a ghost? Whoa, effective. Swords were drawn, and the knights formed a tightly knit group to defend themselves. I took this opportunity to dash to the carriage and throw open the door. I heard another thud, followed by a scream. Dervashi was huddled on the seat, and I barged in, tugging on his arm. It's not safe here. You need to get out of here now. Out of the corner of my eye, I spied the box on the floor. I yanked on Dervashi's arm, and he reluctantly got out. As soon as he was outside, I dived inside and shut the door. Hey! Sorry. I snatched at the box and proceeded to exit out the other side, or tried until I realized the door was locked from the inside. These doors, foiled again! Darn the carriage doors. Infuriated that my plans were being thwarted by wooden barriers, I pushed open the other door, nearly smacking the client in the face as I slipped out. Sorry again. He saw that I had the box, and his eyes widened in outrage. Traitor! Thief! I ducked and darted around the carriage, alarming the horses as I headed straight into the thickest part of the mist. I can hear the knights scrambling to find me as Dervashi screamed orders at them. Heart pounding, I increased the distance between us. The mist started to clear as I reached a steep slope. I momentarily looked down, then glanced back as I heard more clamors. I jumped down, my body feeling angled. I staggered awkwardly as I landed, trying not to hit a tree or trip on a root. Did I get away? And the others? As I can actually read now. Remembering that I still had the box, I knelt down and hastily unlatched it. It opened up and I inhaled sharply. Inside were beautiful long-arm objects that resembled shale with an emerald sheen. They were exactly like Kerr's ears. Underneath were hard flint-like stones with beautiful grooves and ridges. Scales? This is bad. And it was possible that wasn't just a one-time delivery. If the first carriage had also carried dragon remains, this could be a full-fledged underground trading route. How long has this been going on? How did the knights not know? Wouldn't they check the contents? Unless... I shut the box, pushing it underneath the shrub for now before standing up. I would have to form Kerr and Mari. Hello. Before I could take another step, the earth suddenly erupted. A large fissure erupted at my feet, causing me to fall back. Ah! Showered in dirt, I coughed and trembled uncontrollably, unable to stand up. Not so reckless now, are you? Dervashi stood about 20 paces away, his tame peddler appearance replaced by a sinister countenance? What? Wait, how did you... Casually resting on his shoulders was a mace, decorated with spikes that resembled hard tissues, namely bones and oversized teeth. Clamoring for a tree, I unsteadily got up. You'll be surprised how much power dragon bones grant you. Everything is permeated with magic, even long after they die. Why are you doing this? Who are you delivering these remains to? He snorted and rolled his eyes. Please. I'm not going to explain everything just because you asked. Just return the box and you'll be left unharmed. Now, where did you put it? Sorry, guys, I cannot remember how his voice sounded. I unsheathed my sword and widened my stance, hoping not to falter now. I'm not handing it over. Pity. I hate searching. Lifting the mace, he slammed it into the ground. Another chasm opened up and I screamed, my body paralyzed by every vibration. It was then that I heard a loud creak behind me. I glanced up in terror. One of the trees had become unstable, and it groaned as it started to lean heavily. Dervashi pointed the mace at me threateningly. Move, and the next attack will crush you. I unsteadily stood up, but I stayed in place. My legs felt so weak I probably couldn't walk if I tried. The sounds of footsteps was heard, and I prayed it was my friends. Instead, 4 of the original 7 knights joined Dervashi. They glanced at each other hesitantly, obviously baffled by the situation, but obediently allied themselves before the merchant. She's the one who ran off with the goods. I don't know who she's working for, but since she's refusing to cooperate, just give it back and we won't hold this action against you, says one knight. Wait, I'm not betraying anyone. This box had dragon remains. It's sacrilegious to move them. Their souls can't be returned to... Be quiet. We know what we're delivering, and that's just a silly superstition. Superstition? What you're doing is discourteous to dragonkind. Aren't you a KIT? Why are you disobeying orders? Do you want to throw away your chance becoming a full knight? One of the other knights sighed and tried speaking to me more gently. Don't you think you're being too impulsive here? You're obviously young, and a lot of pressure to your name. Don't do something rash and tarnish Agent Valerie's reputation with your disloyalty. It's our duty as knights to carry out our mission with the guild and client's best interest in mind. No, what I'm doing is more important. This is for both Dragonkind and Heavenkind's sake. I'm not surrendering those remains. Sensing that my resolve would not yield, the knights brandished their weapons at me. Then I'll just report to the guild that you got caught in an unfortunate accident. Smirking, Dervishi slammed his weapon into the ground 2 more times. Each shock washed over me, rendering me motionless. There was an ear-splitting crack as a tree began to topple. Ara! Mari's desperate voice suddenly shifted into a growl, and a large turquoise body sailed over me. A section of Mari's long neck slammed into the thick trunk as he halted its fall. His tail thrashed as he roared, straining against the weight. Mari was a water dragon. He couldn't move on land effectively, and he had essentially pinned himself to protect me. Mari! His large face turned towards me. His expression was unreadable in dragon form, but I could sense his concern. I'm fine, and you were right about what the box contained. The knight seemed to waver, baffled by the dragon's presence. Slay that dragon. Consider this out of self-defense, and you will be paid tenfold for its corpse. Don't be scared. Look how helpless it is. Mari snarled, but his only real weapon was his teeth and tail, and he was immobile. He couldn't transform back either, else he risked being flattened by the tree. Where was Kerr? I altered my stance, inviting the knights to take me on. With numbers on their side, they advanced towards me until one of the more impatient ones broke from her position. I dashed forward, swinging my sword as it met the first knight. She parried and thrust her sword forward. I sidestepped, but had to duck as an axe soared over me. Wait! Knights are supposed to fight one-on-one! Ah! I spun around and kicked an axeman in the back of the knee. I knew I was dealing with warriors more experienced than me. Maybe I could hold my own in an individual fight, but... My minor victory was short-lived when I felt a hot pain sear my left arm. I hissed in pain, realizing that I had received a shallow cut from a blade. Blood trickled down my elbow. The moment of hesitation left me open, and I barely blocked another attack. The axemen and swordswoman were overwhelming me, and I frantically tried to keep them at bay. With each swing, their weapons grew dangerously closer, and each blow resonated close enough through my up my sword arm. There was a second crimson spray as a steel blade bit into my torso, and I cried out. Mari's roar was deafening, and suddenly an axeman was hit with a full blast of water, causing him to topple over. Aurelie, stay near me. His guttural voice startled me, since I had no idea he could talk in this dragon form. Looking back, I saw Mari was urgently stretching out his neck in an attempt to shield me, his fangs fully bared. I retreated closer to him as my 3 opponents surrounded me. One sprinted towards Mari, who was focused on another knight, aiming his sword at the dragon's neck. No! I blocked his attack, trying not to buckle under the strain. Forcing my whole weight forward, I managed to push him back. There's Kerr. I heard swift footsteps, and a second later, and the knight I was fighting suddenly flew back from a hasty punch. Kerr! He flashed me a confident grin. Sorry, I was preoccupied with a few others. There'll be no reinforcements after this. 2 down, 3 to go, including Dervishi. Kirk glanced back and spotted Mari, and his face flickered in pain. I gestured to the merchant and his mace. Kerr, stop him now! That weapon causes earthquakes! Kerr charged ahead, but was blocked by the swordsman. The other knight, who possessed a flail, focused on me. Although the flail's range was short, its battering power was enough to make me wary. As I dodged an attack, I stepped back, and my foot found nothing but air. Nearly tumbling, I dived to the side to avoid falling into the chasm, leaving me vulnerable. Before I could roll away, the dirt beside me burst as the steel ball slammed down inches from my head. Discarding my sword, I grabbed the chain before the knight could raise his weapon and wrench it back out of its grip. He stumbled towards me as I rotated to my back. With a well-aimed kick to his stomach, he staggered back. I quickly retrieved my sword and scrambled up. Oh, this is long. Desperate, he bolted for his weapon, but a strong stream of water from Mari caused him to topple into the chasm. Kerr had already incapacitated his opponent, leaving only Davashi, who had retreated enough to be out of Amari's range attack. We caught up to him. If you cast aside your weapon, no one will get hurt. Were you simply following orders? If I turn you in... Me? Turned in? You're the one who stole the merchant's goods. There's no penalty for possessing dragon remains. The other knights will report what happened, and you'll be stripped of your rank and... He recklessly slammed his mace into the ground, unsympathetic to the unconscious or wounded knights around him. This is terrified. I dropped my sword as I knelt down, resisting the urge to cry out. Mari roared as the tremors caused the tree to abrade painfully against his scales. Kerr was unfazed and bound forward. Before Davashi could launch another attack, Kerr's fist met his cheek. The merchant went flying, and his body slammed and tumbled against the hard terrain. On his knees, Davashi threw a fit and repeatedly pounded the ground with the mace. Every strike resounded and increased each tremor's intensity. Stop it! If you keep that up! Kerr had to leap away before the ground nearly swallowed him up. Deep fissures appeared and split, causing the ground to distort. Loose dirt rained down from the steeper slopes, as if the entire region was going to liquefy. Like a spiderweb, the ground around Davashi suddenly groaned and heaved. I couldn't move. I could only watch helplessly. Wait! The merchant gawked and slipped back, but Kerr caught him just before he vanished into the gaping new ravine. The mace slipped from his grasp, disappearing into darkness and giving one final tremor. Kerr forcibly threw Davashi into solid ground. I slowly regained my balance, but I was determined to remain strong. Davashi crumbled to the dirt in a supine position, and I instantly pointed my blade at his exposed neck. It's over. You're nothing without that weapon, so just get lost. His forehead was beaded with sweat, and he nodded fervently. Whatever. Goddamn. All of his fight gone. This is so hard to read. I'm getting there, guys. Pause. Okay. You're just going to let him go? He used dragon remains for weapons. Disgusting. I'm not going to kill him. And Argent Valerie is aware of what's going on. They would probably protect him. Then who could I turn to? Davashi wriggled out from under my sword and tried to make a hasty withdrawal. Kerr simply punched his lights out. A little extreme there? He not only tried to kill us, but he put his own men in danger. I should ask Mari to eat him. I don't think he'd agree to that. A distressed roar caught our attention. Ah, speaking of him, Mari! Forgetting about the merchant, we hurried back to where Mari was. Kerr surveyed the situation and ran under the trunk, positioning himself close to Mari's neck. You really don't do well on land. Mari hissed, unamused by Kerr's comment. With a heavy hoist, I misformed, I said mist. Kerr pushed up the trunk with exceptional strength. Mist formed around them. As the tree crashed back to the ground, I scrambled to Mari's side. He was kneeling down and moaning. Mari, are you okay? That was so reckless. There's Mari. I'll be fine. Ugh, my neck. It's going to be sore for a week. He was on the verge of tears. But what about you? Those injuries. And I couldn't stop them, Sobbing, he clung to me, burying his head in my shoulder. I'm so sorry. I was useless. That was the best I could do. I patted his back reassuringly. You weren't anything but useless, Mari. Or you were anything but useless, whatever. I wouldn't have survived if you hadn't come to my rescue. I felt like I didn't do much myself. If anything, the person who helped us the most was... We both turned to Kerr expectantly, and he flinched from our tender expressions. Oh, he's blushing. He coughed and gave us a haughty glare, placing his hands on his hips. That's right. I did most of the work. Sheesh. Both of you are pitiful. Wait, what are you doing? We both embraced Kerr, refusing to let him escape. Parasites. I laughed and stepped back, while Kerr had to apply more force to free himself from Mari. Remembering the box, I returned to its hiding spot and pulled it out from under the shrub. I was surprised it managed to make it through unscathed. Moments later, the other two surrounded me and peered over my shoulders as I unfastened the latch. Earth Dragon. Using our remains for weapons. Ugh. Let's bury them, somewhere away from this battlefield, in case they decide to look for them. While Kerr fetched the mace, Mari and I walked until we reached the furthest fissure we could find. We were surprised by how much the region was affected by the mace's powers, and Kerr worked diligently to pry the remains from the weapon. He tossed them into the chasm. Picking up the box, he'd emptied it over one of the fissures. He placed an open palm on the soil and stepped back, preparing myself for one of his abilities. The ground trembled slightly as debris and soil was loosened up, filling up a section of the rupture. When it was over, I sighed, feeling utterly exhausted. I've had enough earthquakes for one day. I'm completely shaken up. I mustered a weak giggle while Mari groaned. Heaven-kind humor. It's bad. Kerr wiped the dirt from his hands. What now? I grabbed my knight and training badge and glanced at it. With a dismissive wave, I tossed it to the ground. Both of them were stunned. Are you sure about this? It's something you worked for. I'm sure if you returned to and explained to the guild. He stopped when he saw me shake my head. No, the Argent Valerie Guild is in on this. I don't want anything to do with them or the knights. Besides, Tafishi had a point. The other knights will report what happened, and I'll have no choice to redeem myself after that betrayal. I'm done. I took a few steps forward and turned to them so I could address them properly. Let's go home. Besides, I think it is something you should inform your masters about as soon as possible. If we can't rely on the guild to build a rapport between Heavenkind and Dragonkind, we'll need another angle. We headed back to the main road, careful of the steep slope and the chasms the fight had created. The carriage was gone, and we saw no other knights. Kerr explained that he had to manage to drive them off, which is why it took him a while to come to our rescue. Without my knowing, I started to linger behind the two, my feet dragging slower with each step. The other two noticed and turned worryingly. Are you okay, Aura? I chuckled, trying to reassure them, but the tears appeared anyway. I'm fine. If anything, I feel like a huge burden was lifted off my shoulders. But it still hurts. I wanted to be a knight for years, and now I'm accepting it'll never happen. I worked so hard. My shoulders shuddered, and I covered my face, feeling pathetic and worthless. I sensed someone standing before me, and I glanced up. Kerr glowered, unimpressed. He gave me a slight smack on the forehead. Ow, what was that for? Kerr? I rubbed the spot indigently. Didn't I tell you this before? That it's just a title. Well, yeah. Knights are supposed to help those in need. I think a certain someone has already been a knight for a while. In spirit, anyway. And in the end, you did the right thing. We can't thank you enough. Thanks. As we walked, I expressed concern over being sought out, and the others reassured me that nothing like that would happen. I did uncover a potentially unsettling activity that would need to be confronted after all. They would seek protection from other dragons to watch over Barry, and my heart sank when they avoided the notion that they would be the ones guarding. Guess they still had amends to make. Wow, a lot of stuff happened, didn't it? My back. Ugh. Chapter 9. Home. I think we're almost there. How long is this one going for? Almost 30 minutes. Good God, man. Alright. I lied. This is going to be the end of this episode because this is a 30-minute episode already. Maybe Chapter 9 is going to be the last one. I honestly don't know, but I think we're almost there. Sorry, guys. I could have sworn that this would have been the last one, but I did not expect all that fighting and things to happen, but we have made some progress, and hopefully in the next one we will get to see what happens, with Aura and Kerr, because I really want to know. But anyway, guys, sorry again for this episode taking so long. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did and you are not yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button below. It really helps because I'm almost at 200 subscribers, and when that happens, I'll have a special video, a Q&A, or something like that. So I don't know. So anyway, guys, I will see you all at the next episode. Bye!